Hello, in this video I'm going to talk to you about some of the clothes that you're going to need to use to wear when you are on a DofE or 10 Tours expedition. Now, before we get into the specific items of clothes that I've got here just to show you, just as examples, I just want to talk to you about the main functions that clothing should provide on an expedition. So there are four main functions that clothes must provide when you're on expedition. It needs to provide protection. Protection from UV rays from the sun, from undergrowth, from insects. You don't want to get bitten by insects or stung by nettles, etc. The second function that clothing needs to provide is some warmth. It needs to provide some insulation, and it needs to keep you warm even when the weather is cold and wet. Several thin layers are much more effective than one thick layer at managing your temperature. You can also then regulate much more easily by adding or removing layers as necessary. The third function that clothing needs to provide is it needs to keep you dry. And that goes for all the different layers of your clothing. Your base layers against your skin need to be able to transport moisture from your skin to the surface of the fabric. That's called being breathable, or wicking. It wicks the moisture away from your skin. External waterproofs need to be both waterproof, prevent rainwater getting in, and breathable, allowing moisture to escape or water vapour to escape. Although no waterproof layer is very good at being breathable. It's really important that you avoid fabrics made of cotton, because cotton tends to absorb moisture and retains that moisture, becomes very heavy, and increases the risk of becoming hypothermic. The fourth main function of clothing is that it needs to be comfortable. You are going to have to wear this for a long time, and the clothing must not restrict your movement, and it mustn't rub and cause you discomfort. So those are the four main functions that clothes need to provide. And you need to keep those functions in mind when you are selecting your clothes. So I'm going to go through the kit that you'll be wearing, starting from the bottom and working the way up. So let's start with boots. And boots have a fifth function. These also need to provide support. So it's important that the boots cover your ankle, so they provide support for your ankle. This is particularly important when you're wearing a heavy rucksack and on uneven ground. The sole of the boot must provide grip, and it must be stiff enough to prevent the boot from flexing too much whilst you're on uneven ground. And the material that you choose for your boot should be both waterproof and breathable. Traditional leather boots like this tend to be more waterproof and also tend to have less stitching, which could allow water to enter the boot. Your boots should be well worn in, so you need to wear them quite a lot and of course be comfortable. And if you're buying boots, it's best to try on several pairs in order to find a pair which is the best fit. If you do buy a new pair of boots, make sure you wear them around indoors for some time, just to check their fit. It's common to need a pair of walking boots which is about a size up from your normal size of shoes. If you buy new boots and wear them around indoors, then most retailers would exchange those if they're uncomfortable and you've not taken them outside. From a health and hygiene point of view, it might sound a bit silly, but do make sure that you cut your toenails, just cut them straight across, because long toenails in a boot could become ingrowing. They could damage your boot, they could damage your socks, they could damage your foot. So do bear that in mind when preparing for an expedition. So moving up, we'll then move to the socks. Now, I'm quite a fan of wearing two different layers of socks. A thin pair of socks, which you would wear against your skin, and the fabric of these is important, and technical socks tend not to have many seams, or those seams they do have are flat. So these thin socks fit against your skin, the idea being that they stay against your skin and the thick sock then rubs against the thin sock, and so therefore it reduces the likelihood of getting blisters, although having a well-fitted pair of boots is the most important thing there. The thicker pair of socks provides cushioning, warmth and comfort. Many of the popular brands are elasticated around the ankle and around the arch of the foot. Again, the seams are flat, so they don't cause rubbing or irritation. Popular brands of socks include Bridgedale and Teco. There are other brands available, but these tend to be well-made brands of walking socks. Moving up to the legs, please avoid wearing jeans. Again, made of cotton, restrict your movement, become very heavy when they are wet. So leggings are acceptable, however, do keep clear of cheap fashion leggings. They won't satisfy the main functions that clothing needs to provide. Again, sports leggings with mesh ventilation panels will be incredibly breathable, but may not provide much warmth if the weather becomes very cold. So trousers should be well fitting. It's helpful if they are a little bit stretchy. That will make them more comfortable. And if they're made of a fabric which dries quickly, then that will also be beneficial and you'll be much more comfortable with those trousers then. Beware of trousers which advertise themselves as water repellent or water resistant. They are not waterproof, so they might withstand some light drizzle, but they wouldn't be good enough in heavy rain. On a very cold day, consider wearing thermal leggings underneath a pair of trousers, and that would increase your comfort. Again, adding layers to what you're wearing. It's also a good idea to wear a pair of gaiters. So these gaiters go over the lower part of your leg. They're waterproof, and they will be really useful when it's muddy or when you're walking through long grass, for instance on Dartmoor. So for Gold, DofE and 10 Tours, a pair of gaiters would be pretty much essential. Waterproof trousers. We'll talk a bit more about waterproofs, but waterproof trousers do need to go over your legwear. Look for trousers which have a good long zip from the ankle. The longer the zip is, the more easy it will be to put them on over your boots, so it means you don't have to take your boots off every time you put them on. Also look for seams that have tapes on them. This will prevent water from getting in through any seams when it's really wet, and that's something which we really will look for when judging whether waterproof trousers are appropriate or not. So a good way of testing if the trousers have taped seams, if you can't see the seams, is from the outside just to pinch the trousers around the seam, and you can see there that the tape just provides a little bit of structure. So waterproof trousers, if you wear gaiters, should be worn over the top of the gaiters. Otherwise the rain will run down the trousers into the gaiters and then straight into your boot. Moving up then, a base layer top could be either be a long sleeve top like this, or a short sleeved top, depending on the weather conditions. And look for what we call technical fabrics which will wick the moisture away from your skin and allow that moisture then to evaporate when it reaches the surface. Some slightly more expensive tops you'll find don't have a seam across the shoulders, and this makes it much more comfortable when you're wearing a rucksack. It won't rub against your shoulders, and you'll also notice that the seams on these are flat compared maybe to this type of seam, which might be just a little bit more restrictive. Over your base layer, you'll need to wear, or may need to wear, a mid layer, so something like a fleecy jumper or a shirt, and this can just help to provide a little bit more insulation when it's a little bit cooler. Then over that would go an insulating layer, so a fleece jacket. If you get a jacket with a long zip, then that will be much easier to put on and take off when you are out and about. As an insulating layer, down jackets are excellent. They're very light, but you do need to be careful because when down jackets get wet, they lose their insulating properties, so they do need to be cared for. Modern fleeces are much lighter and smaller than traditional fleeces from sort of 30, 40 years ago. And waterproof jacket, sometimes known as a hard shell. Again, look for taped seams. So again, looking on the outside here, if I pinch around the seams, I can see that there is a tape there, and if there isn't a lining, you can see the tape on the inside. Is important that the hood on waterproof jacket isn't detachable, so look for what we call a grown-on hood, which is permanently attached to the rest of the jacket. And if you have a wire in the peak of the hood, that just helps the hood to maintain its shape and provides a little bit more structure, and that will help to prevent water from running down your face when it's very wet. Then it's quite often a good idea to have a neck gaiter, sometimes called a buff. Very small, very light, but can be worn in a multitude of different ways. You can just wear it can just wear it as a scarf around your neck. If it's a little bit cooler, you can pull it up around your face and protect your ears. If it's very cold, you can even create a bit of a balaclava look and just keep your eyes out. Some people wear them these days as a face covering when you're in the shops. You can wear it as a sweatband. You can wear it as a scrunchie. Just have it round your wrist if you need to. It can also work quite well as a beanie hat, quite useful overnight if it's a bit chilly overnight. Very versatile piece of kit. You can even wear it as a pirate hat. So definitely advise one of these. And then hats, depending on the weather conditions, just a baseball cap with a peak can help protect your face from the sun, protect your eyes, and from the rain as well. So if it's warm and sunny, definitely have a cap, or a hat with a brim all the way round, which again provides more protection from the sun, particularly on the back of the neck, and when it's raining can act a little bit like an umbrella. So some kind of hat is important, and if it's cold, a fleecy beanie hat would be very welcome, and this is the sort of thing you could also wear overnight. Try to avoid wearing a bobble hat, because if it's raining it's very difficult to put the hood of your coat over the bobble of a bobble hat. And then finally gloves. So a pair of warm gloves. You can get over gloves which are waterproof, which can go over liner gloves. Some gloves are touchscreen compatible if you are using a phone. Again, it'll depend on the time of year as to what you will need in terms of gloves, but even in summer it can get quite chilly overnight, so you would certainly value having a pair of gloves. So I've run through there the main pieces of clothing that you will want to wear on an expedition. If you are doing DofE, you will have a copy of the DofE kit list. Now that kit list does suggest specific items. Those items are not required. The items on that kit list sponsor DofE, so if you buy one of those particular items, DofE will get some funding from it, which is obviously really helpful for the charity. However, don't go out and use that as a list of things that you must buy. It's important that the clothing that you buy is comfortable and that it's suitable for you. For 10 tours and gold DofE, you are likely to need different levels of kit and possibly different standard of kit to somebody who's doing bronze DofE in the summer. You'll find that very different conditions. Also important that you look after your kit and make sure you clean any mud off the kit. Be careful when you're washing kit. Fabric conditioners will destroy the breathability of technical layers and will certainly remove the waterproofing layer from waterproof jackets and trousers. So be very careful how you wash the kit. But you can get technical detergent. You can even get washable or wash-in waterproofing layers that would re-waterproof or add a water repellent layer to a waterproof, which would mean that rain then just beads up and runs off the coat rather than sticking and absorbing into the coat. So you can bring new life to old gear in that way. So I hope you found that useful. Please do ask your teachers if you want any advice about any specific gear, or go to a dedicated outdoor store where they will provide you with lots of advice. If you do DofE, you have a discount card which you can use at Go Outdoors, Blacks and Millets. If you do 10 tours, Cotswold Outdoor will do a discount on gear, and BCH Camping in Bath and Trowbridge, if you're doing 10 tours or DofE, will give you a 20% discount and will give you excellent advice and won't just try and sell you the most expensive kit. They'll sell you the most appropriate kit. So do go and ask them for help and advice where necessary. There are a couple of other videos that might be worth watching. One on additional kit that you might need in addition to clothing, and another one on how to pack a rucksack for an expedition.